Natalie said, money flows to you if you're a magnet for it. I love that. And when you go deeper with that, how do you become a magnet for money? It's not going to come to you if you're like, I don't care about money, or money's hard to make, or, you know, if you're saying negative things about money, like if a guy was speaking negatively about you, you'd be like, ugh.
Yeah, no, correct.
You'd be turned off versus you're like, you're so beautiful. I love you. I love spending time with you. You're so much fun. You would attract, right? So the words you're using, and I still will catch myself where I'm like, oh, don't say that about money. You better be speaking positively, because money is listening.
Oh.
And money's an energy.
Welcome back to She's Aligned. Today we're going to be talking about our journey with money and the energy behind it. Super excited to talk about this because I think most humans struggle with money. I know I did. I know Natalia has. It's a constant, sort of battle that we have to work through, and we've done so much energy healing behind it. And we feel like we're on the other side where we can say we think we've healed most of our money trauma.
Yeah. I hope so. There's more with all the healing I've done.
Well, honestly, there definitely has to be more,
because
there's always new stuff that you're unlocking with every level that we're at. So like, we're not millionaires. So if we were millionaires, I feel like if we were to unlock our full potential, we would be like millionaires. You know what I mean?
And even then we would still have more.
Correct. So I would say we got a good base point of like
we are okay right now.
Right now we're okay. But I think that's a beautiful thing about like the spiritual healing journey, and it has to do with like money and everything, is that it's always a journey. There's like no destination. It's just the journey.
And I think the more we embrace that, the better. Because I know I used to be very like, I just want to get there, even though I'm like, where? I don't know. But I just wanted to get there because I'm impatient. Yeah. But then I realized like that's when you get there, you're dead. Like the end is death. So just like enjoy.
I love that you were like, I just want to get there, but what is there? Because a lot of people will try to manifest like that. Like they'll just say like, oh, I really want like a lot of money, but they will never specify, well, I would love to make this much every single month. I would like to make this much monthly, this much yearly. They just say, I just want a lot of money. I just want to be financially free, but they never really specify what it is that they're trying to manifest. Correct.
Yep. When you try to ask the universe for a lot of money, like, what does that mean? If that's because I used to be like that. I was like, I just want a lot, or, a lot of money or more money. But it's like, okay, more money, is that like 50 cents?
Correct.
Correct. Is it?
Because like if you're used to making about like $2,000, the universe could be like, all right, well, you're now going to make $2,100. That technically is more money. Yeah. So you should be okay with that. But it's the fact that you didn't like specify a number.
Yeah. And I think that's why to me this episode is so important, because I feel like money is such a taboo topic, and it shouldn't be. Like people are so scared to talk about money. I don't know why. I think it's viewed as like a sensitive subject. I understand why, but I don't think it should be. I think that if we can get rid of the stigma around money, and own it more, I actually think that we would be more abundant, and what's funny to me about the spiritual community is that we talk so much about abundance, but we're so afraid to talk about money and how money is a part of abundance. It's not all of abundance, but it is a big part, because we live in a world that functions based off of finances. So if you're someone who wants to be abundant but you're afraid of money, you're really going to have a hard time. So I don't know, I feel like this topic is so important.
And I also would really love to say that there are a lot of people in the spiritual community that look bad upon other spirituals who have abundance. It's kind of like if it's viewed as wrong and ugly to have money. But what we have to understand is that is your own trigger, and you are projecting that onto other people. We have to understand that money is an amplifier. So if you are a bad person and you get more money, it's just going to make you into a worse person. But if you're a good and giving person, having more money is going to allow for you to bless other people. And I think we as spiritual people should be more open about talking about money and being okay with charging what we're worth, but also not looking bad upon other people. What I feel like what the spiritual community should really focus on is getting the money in the right hands of people.
Yes.
Because the people that have the right hands and have that money will do good in the world. And I think we're seeing that now in today's like society, that the money currently is in the hands of the bad people and not the good people, which is why our world currently is going to shit. Like last night I thought I saw aliens. She has a video. My God, I have a video that I recorded and I had like chills all over my body. You should post it on TikTok. And I sent it to Natalia. And in the video, I'm like, what is that? Like, I had chills. Come to find out, it was Starlink. And apparently Elon Musk is putting like all of these like satellites in a line around like the universe. So it's like orbiting around the universe. And so we will see that from now on. But what I'm trying to say off of that is like, I thought I saw aliens last night, and a part of me was like, okay, well, one, I do believe in aliens, but I'm like, okay, if we're being invaded right now, that's like literally the last of my worries, because like the world right now is such like in a bad like place that I'm like, what else could go wrong, And I think that's kind of like the energy that the world is in right now, is that the money is in the wrong hands. And which is why the world is so corrupt. But I wanted to bring that alien thing, because there was a part of me that was like, oh, well, like if we're being invaded, like what's the worst that can happen?
Literally.
Like rent is like sky high. Like, it's like, what else could go wrong,
You're like, take me.
Yeah, I'm like, just take me.
That's so funny.
To another dimension, to another planet. But yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so we have to understand that, money is an amplifier. And we should be focusing on getting money in the good hands. In good hands, so that we could do good in the world.
Yeah, when you were saying that, I literally got this visual of like the like dark and light, and all the money being on the dark side, and then like just trying to create balance by moving it to the light side. But we have to realize that we are responsible for that. And that's why, like, to me, like as a business coach, I teach my clients to charge a certain amount, because that's the work. But I think, it's so easy for us to sit here and be like, we need to put money in the hands of the right people. But that doesn't mean shit if we're not actually doing anything about it.
Correct.
And so I think that for us, part of doing something is speaking to you guys about this topic today, and making you aware that you need to not be afraid of money, not be afraid of charging what you need to charge to be profitable, owning the fact that you want to be abundant financially, and then actually taking action to create that, and not just saying it, not just, I'm going to manifest it by sitting on my couch. Like, tell the universe exactly what you want, and then take the action to create it. Because that is how we're going to bring back the balance and put money in the hands of the right people. But it's in our actions. It starts with the awareness, and then it's followed by action.
Correct. I just had a thought right now. I was like, I think the reason why society kind of wants the middle class and the lower class to view money and demonize it is because they want to keep the money away from us. Like 100%. if we knew the power, and if we were aware, like the elite people, we would also have that money. But the reason why it's demonized in the middle class and the lower class, honestly, I think like generationally, I think our parents and our family I don't think they have the awareness to think of it in that sense. It's just like the mentality that they grew up with. So that rubs off onto us as well. But I think collectively throughout the years, I think that's what the main goal is to demonize money, so that there's this gap between the poor and the rich just keep getting richer. I mean, you know what's so funny is that over 10 years ago when I was in the MLM company, they always told me, they're like, you need to get savvy with your money because the middle class is going to be wiped out. And that was over 10 years ago. Well, look at what's happening now. There's almost no such thing as middle class now.
So true.
And what is the one thing that the middle class had? Do you know what that answer is? The one thing that the middle class had? It's homes, property.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only way the middle class was able to keep their class and money is by buying their home and having equity in their home and then keeping that home for your children for the years to come. But now we're even seeing the one thing that the middle class has being wiped out because all of the investors are buying thousands of properties, and they're saying like within the next 5 to 7 years the whole United States is just going to be a society of renters. There's not going to be any owners. The only people that have the properties are investors and big corporations. Why is it that Zillow owns thousands of properties? They shouldn't be owning that. That should be left for the middle class and for people, because that's the only thing we have to really hold on to, you know? And why is it that Amazon and Jeff Bezos and all of these people have thousands of properties? They have no business in owning that property, you know? And so I've
There's
always,
a reason why.
Exactly. But I've always been told, like, get really savvy with your money because the middle class is going to be wiped out. And honestly, like, when they would tell me that, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to live to see that. We are living through that right now. So it's crazy. It's crazy that, you know, we're taught to demonize money and not to educate ourselves on money. And because we're not educated, we subconsciously allow for the elite and for the rich to take advantage, and we get the short end of the stick, which is what we're seeing today.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also important to say that, especially if you are a woman listening to this, like, you really, really need to get your shit figured out when it comes to money. Like, really learn, educate. I know it can feel like such a big, scary topic, and we'll share, you know, our journeys with that, because I get it. I used to be terrified, but continuing to turn, you know, the other direction and ignore it is not going to get you anywhere, because as long as you continue to do that, you're continuing to pave a future for yourself where you are not going to be financially free. You're not going to be financially wise. You're not going to be financially set up for the life you desire. It's not just going to come one day. You need to actively create it today in order to get there. So, please take this to heart, because it's about empowering you to be in a good place. It's empowering your kids, your family, the future generations. And with what Nat's saying, I feel like it's just become very clear that it's not enough to be okay anymore. Like, I don't even know if there's such a thing as being okay. Like, you got to choose, like, are you going to embody the wealth that you want to create for yourself, or are you going to continue to be the underdog and to always feel like it's never enough? Because, and what's funny is the mail. Oh my gosh, I was like, funny. What? What's interesting is I was actually having this conversation last night with my dad and one of my friends, where my dad was saying something about, like, how, you know, oh, they, like, in his generation, they were able to buy homes, literally what you were just saying. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if for you guys that's possible anymore. And my friend was, like, agreeing with him. But I kind of sat there and I was like, yes, and the difference is that our generation, we have so many more opportunities to make money that they didn't have.
Correct.
Right? Like, they were more limited to the American dream and getting a job, and that was it. We can start businesses. You can make money online doing stupid shit. You can sell pictures of your fucking feet. Like, you know what I mean?
You know, it's
like,
so funny. I'm sorry I'm going to say this, but I think it was this morning. I got a video on my For You page that was like, you think it's hard to make money? You can get paid to shit and send it to labs, and you can make like $180,000.
Literally. So I feel like people who, I know some people get mad about me saying this. I don't care. You can make money nowadays in so many ways. Like, if you're really struggling, if you really need money, you can be an Uber driver. You can do Uber Eats. Like, you can, I could give you a bajillion opportunities to make money. People sometimes just don't want to do it, right? So the way that I see it is, yes, things might be pointing us to the direction of having to create wealth, and there's also a lot of opportunities to create wealth. You can do a lot of things to make money nowadays that people didn't have before.
Especially if you're someone that's listening to this episode right now, you have the internet. You have the opportunity to make money.
Yeah. And obviously we want to impact the world, so I'm not saying go sell your farts, even though you can. But you can do good things and help people and make money. And I think that when you decide to own that, what'll happen is you will get yourself out of the little box you're living in, because I think people put themselves in a box, and if your mindset is still, I have to get a job to make money, and oh shit, I can't find a job, so that means I'm screwed, and there's nothing else, like, you are living in a box, because
for sure.
that is not the world that we live in anymore.
Yeah. I also want to say, I love that you said that, because I think you and I and a lot of entrepreneurs have the same mentality that we have versus someone who thinks that they have to trade time for money, which is a job, right? What Natalia and I love to say is that we create money out of nothing.
Yep.
Literally our bare hands. Like, every single time I say that, I just think of my hands, like in my third eye, I can see my hands. And every time I say that, I just see an endless flow of money that it's just coming out of my hands. But that's literally how I see making money. And I know Natalia does too. Like, you have to get on an energetic standpoint where you see it, not just like as a game, because I do see it as a game, but like as an endless flow, because we have the natural birthright to have endless abundance. And I don't know, like, I just have the belief that my own hands, and I have my hands out right now if you're watching the YouTube video, I don't know why. But like,
I should do it with you.
We're praying. But like, I've always taken pride that my own hands create money out of nothing. And anytime, because obviously as a business owner, we have highs and we have lows. And in the moments that I've had lows, I've always reaffirmed and have always thanked the universe for the endless flow of abundance, even though it was a low month for me. And I knew that my hands would make it work somehow. And it always did. Like, they always delivered.
You're always provided for.
Correct. Yeah. But not a lot of people think that way.
Yeah.
And it's your mindset around money and your energy around money. And the moment you start to change that, the more money you're going to attract. The more you stay in the absent and the scarcity mindset, that is what your subconscious mind is going to fixate on, and that is what you are going to attract.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure the exact percentage, but I think it's like 80 to like 90% of our life is ran from our subconscious mind.
Oh, I believe that. 100%.
So whatever you're thinking, that is your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind is like the things that you've been programmed with, that you listen to, which if you're listening to this now, we just had an episode about talking about like what you surround yourself with, what you listen to, your friends and stuff. So everything that you surround yourself with gets ingrained in your subconscious mind, and that is how you live your life. So you want to be mindful of that. You want to be mindful, if you have a scarcity mindset, how can you switch that to have an abundance mindset? Because whatever your subconscious mind, again, is fixated on, that is what your reality is going to be.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't like to hear that, because they just want to throw themselves a pity party and say like, oh my God, I only make this much and I can't like make it work, or I wish I made more money. But it's like, like Natalia said, we live in a day and age where we have so much opportunity to make money. You don't have to rely on a paycheck to make ends meet. If you want to have a 9-to-5 and that is your desire, you can do that. But if you want more money, you can make more money. You have the opportunity to make more money, especially if you're listening to this episode, which tells me that you have the internet, which tells me that you could do research, which tells me that you could work on your mindset, which tells me that you can start a business.
The end.
You know, like, like Natalia was like, you know, our parents didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
They also didn't have open access to change their mindset. You know, they didn't have YouTube and TikTok to listen to people and to listen to podcasts to change their mindset. That wasn't easily accessible for them. Like, you literally had to go either check out like a tape, or I don't even know if CDs were in at their time, or like go to the library and go rent a book, you know. now it's easier
easy
for us, so we don't have an excuse. If I find someone with a shitty mindset that's like my age,
that's your own fault.
That's your own fault. I personally don't understand how people still live like that, because we have the resources, you know? So
it's literally at your fingertips.
Yeah, correct. But man, that we talked, that was really good intro quotation.
Our intros are so freaking long.
Oh my gosh. But okay, so do we want to get into our stories?
Yeah, we want to share our stories with you guys, because we realize that's where the power is in helping you. So do you want to go first?
You start this time.
Okay. In the beginning,
once upon a time in a faraway land.
I mean, I feel like we've touched on our stories a little bit. I don't know what episode, but I feel like we talked about it a little bit. But I grew up middle class, which it went extinct.
Rest in peace.
I grew up middle class, and even in saying this, I think it reminds me how much privilege I grew up with, because you guys, I didn't even know what generic brands were until I left my parents' home. And we weren't like rich, you know, but I legit didn't even know what that word was. I had never heard it, and I didn't even know.
When you said it, I was like, what are generic?
Jeez. This is the first time Natalie hears of generic
But now I get it, like Great Value for Walmart, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Like, I didn't know that was a thing, because literally when I just remember we would go grocery shopping and we would just grab what we wanted, you know, and everything was like brand stuff. And so, but what's interesting is, even though I grew up like that, my parents did not teach us about money. The only thing they would say was like, save money. And I would just be like, why? And they would just like, for an emergency. But as a kid, I'm like, an emergency? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't register, so I never saved money. But I don't know. I'm like, I wish they would have sat down, but they didn't have those tools either, you know? So even though I grew up comfortably, I didn't know anything about money. I didn't understand how it worked. And it wasn't until I got married, when I was with my ex-husband, that was the first time I learned what a generic, you know, because I just started grabbing things, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, grab the generic brand. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, what? I was like, I'm used to the brands, you know?
I'm gonna return you.
Literally. Like, this is not it. But I just didn't know. And what's interesting is, I started working really young. I started working at 13 years old. And if I would have been, I don't want to say if I would have been smarter, because I just didn't know. If I would have had the right tools, I'm like, damn, I would have had so much to show for that, because I don't have shit to show for the fact that I started working at 13. Not because my family had a need, because I wanted to work. I wanted to work. I wanted to make my own money. But I would go spend it on clothes and like just stupid things, you know, and never saved any of it. So I went in with that lack of knowledge into a marriage. And because I didn't know anything, I allowed my partner to manage all of the finances, like, I didn't even know. I had no awareness. Like, we just had one bank account. All my money went into that account. I didn't know what happened to it. I didn't know what was going on financially. I had zero awareness, and for me, I was like, well, I trust him, and I'm not good with money, and I don't know, so I'm just going to let him handle it. And from that experience, like, once I got divorced, I realized, like, and when I was on my own, I'm like, I need to learn how to do this. You know, there's literally nobody for me to rely on to manage my money. That falls now on me. So I almost had to be put in that position as an adult of like, I have to do this. My parents aren't here anymore. My ex isn't here anymore. Like, I gotta do this. And so when I finally decided to own that and learn, I found this financial advisor who would do these like boot camps, and it was like a series of weeks, and you would go and learn about like budgeting, investing, saving, like everything. So I signed up, and I went every single week for, I forget how long, and learned about all that stuff, and continued my journey and still to this day, I'm always finding more ways to learn. So I think if you don't know, become a student of money, because that's what I had to do. I had to become a student, and I still to this day am a student of money. So that's how I began that journey. And then I feel like another big part of it was when I got into business and was like, how do I charge for things? How do I price things? Like, it always feels like you're just pulling this random number out of a hat. So I actually came up with my own like formulas to figure out how to be profitable. So it was stuff I had to just create and learn. And something that really helped me too was working with an accountant, because she educated me a lot on how to manage my finances as a business owner, taxes, everything. Like, and I would, again, I became a student with her, and she would have to have numerous conversations with me, because my head, it was like I didn't understand a lot of the information she was giving me. So I had to sit with her several times, and luckily she was like patient and, would sit there and explain to me like, this is how we need to manage your finances, because she's also a financial advisor. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to hire her. And I still work with her to this day. So understanding how to manage business finances was another journey. Should I touch on the energetic piece of it, or do we want to do that after?
I think maybe after.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Are you talking about like where you're at now?
Should I? I don't know. Do you want me to, should I do that?
I think maybe so. I think maybe you can go into like where you're at now, and then we can talk about like the energetic shift.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my accountant, that was like a huge game changer. So really, if you guys notice, what the pattern was that I was initially around people who were not educating me around money. So I had to intentionally go and seek out people who could educate me around money. So for me, especially when it comes to money, it's all about your circle. And it's about who you put yourself around, So I was like, okay, I don't have people around me who are taking the time to teach me, but I'm a grown-ass woman now. So instead of me acting like a little kid, like, well, I don't know, nobody taught me. I got to take ownership, and I need to go find the people. Even if I got to pay them and hire them, I got to go find these people to teach me. So I did. I found a financial advisor, went through her trainings. I found an accountant, let her teach me, and she manages my business, like bookkeeping and all that now, and my taxes. So I made sure I surrounded myself with the right people.
Yeah.
Because that is what impacts how Nat was saying, like your subconscious, right? Because it's how you hear people talk about money. It's what they say. It's also the knowledge that they have that we don't have. Because like my accountant, the things that she knows, like she knows what the big corporations are doing that small businesses don't know. So she's teaching me that. And because of that, I get to pass it on to my clients, and I get to send them to her. And that's how we start to change things, So I think a big part of my journey was like realizing that even though I grew up around money, what really made a difference was the people I was around. And so that had to shift for me. And I think that's what allowed me to be in a position where I'm at now of like, okay, I get it a little bit more. And I'm going to forever see myself as a student of money. But I think that was like a shift that happened for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you said who you surrounded yourself with, because again, we talked about this in the previous episode. We are who we surround ourselves with.
Exactly.
And also, I have a question for you. Let me see how I'm going to word it. But you had the awareness and the thought that, hey, I don't know how to manage my money, so I need to get educated. A lot of people never educate themselves with money. What do you think is a missing key to those that never educate themselves versus someone like you who said, I don't know how to manage money. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, so I'm going to get help?
I mean, I think for me, there was a lot of fear. And I think a lot of people have fear of what we don't know, what we don't understand. Something about me, though, and I don't know if this is because I'm an Aries, but I will run into the fire. Like, I just will, And it's funny because I had an Akashic reading before, and I think, like, that was one of the first things she said. She was like, you just run into the fire. And I was like, yep, I do. Because I do. Like, if something scares me, you know, I don't want to say, oh, I'm boldless and I just run. I'm like terrified and I run into it, you know, and I'm just like, I'm scared. But I think that's what it is, because I know it was fear that paralyzed me for a while. And that's what fear does. It, you know, we're like, oh, I don't know, I'm scared, blah, blah, blah. But it's all in your head. And so I knew in order to get myself out of that, I was going to have to sign up for something that was going to keep me accountable. Because what happens is when you invest your money and your time, you're like, you're committed, right? So I was like, shoot, now I got to go to these classes and I got to sit there and I got to learn. So I think it's just facing the fear. I think we're all scared.
So you think some people are bold enough to face the fear and some are not?
Yeah. I honestly think that's the difference between people who grow in life and people who don't.
Do you think that some people also may not think that it's possible to be educated in money?
No. If they do, that's dumb. Because there's so
like,
many resources.
Yeah, that's what I was
going to
say. You can find books.
I think and one memory that just came to me too was like, I remember early on in my entrepreneurship journey, I signed up for this mastermind where like I flew to Florida. And it was so life-changing for me because I remember the coach, she had us, you know, create our financial goals for business. And I think my goal was like $10,000 a month or something like that. And I remember her looking at me and she was like, what would you do if you made $20,000 a month? And at that time, my mindset was so small and so limited that literally blew my mind because I had never thought about the possibility of making $20,000 a month. Like my mind, but that's the thing is our mind only knows what you have seen and what you've experienced. So my mind was limited. I'm just seeing it like a circle where it was like my circle of limitation was 10K. I thought that was like the biggest possible number in the world, right? And so when she said that to me, I was like my mind literally was like, and I was like, I remember she laughed because literally when she said, she's like, what would you do if you made $20,000 a month? I remember just looking at her and being like, I don't know what I would do with myself because I was so shocked, you know? But because she said that to me, what it did was it put me on a path that then now my mind knew a different reality, right? And then she showed me, she's like, oh, here's how you could make $20,000 a month. And energetically, I was nowhere near ready to make that much money. So it's not like, oh, I went home and made $20,000. No, girl, it took years. Like, did not, you know? And so, but because someone just said that to me, and this is the reason why I'm sharing this is because it is the power of putting yourself in with the right people in new places and in the right circles. Because in the world I lived in, that did not exist. And so what that lady did was she took me from my little circle and plucked me right out and was like, oh, look at this world that exists. And so that set me on a path of like, oh shit, there's a world where people make 20K a month. What? You know, and now I'm, okay, this is me now. Now I'm in a world where my coach makes $1 million a month. If you would have said that to me, then I would have been done. Like, because I could barely handle
Fainted,
20K.
goodbye.
Yeah. You know, now it blows my mind to think of someone making $1 million a month. Like, I went from 20K a month blowing my mind to now I'm in a circle with people that make $1 million a month.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, the power of getting yourself around the right people. So, I don't know. That story was big for me.
And surrounding yourself with the right people will light a fire under your ass.
For
Versus
sure.
if you hang around people in your circle, you'll be comfortable. But if you're also self-aware enough, if you hang out with people that are, I don't want to say below you, but financially below you, you'll feel like the smartest one in the room if you have the self-awareness that you'll feel so out of place.
Yeah.
But if you surround yourself with people that are at your level, you'll be comfortable. The only way to get out of that is to put yourself in situations where people are above you.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
What
I love
about
everything
you?
that you just said.
Thank you. That was my journey. I'm still on the journey for sure. But yeah. What about you?
Oh my gosh. I have a long journey with money. So like Natalia, I also grew up very middle class. I never lacked anything. My parents always took me shopping. Trying to think, did I lack anything? I don't think I did. Like I said, my parents always took me shopping. Anything I wanted, I would get it. I'm just like picturing us as kids.
I know, spoiled girlies club.
Literally. But even though even though I didn't grow up lacking anything, I was always fed the narrative that money isn't easy to make. And I was always fed the narrative that you have to go to school to get a career to be secure in money. So while I was in school, I always was very insecure about school because I hated school and I knew that I didn't want to go to college, but I felt like that was the only path for me. So, as a kid, I always asked myself, like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do when you get older? Because, like, what the hell are you going to do? Like, I knew for a fact I did not want to sit in a cubicle and make money. So yeah, I was always fed the narrative that money wasn't easy to make and you had to go to school to have a secure future and to make good money. Now we know that that is not the reality. There are many people going to school, getting a career, coming out, and yes, they're making the income that they were expecting to make, but in today's world, it's not even like remotely like the power and the money of how much money you can spend versus what you get in return is not even close to what our parents had at the time, which is why the path of like school is not the safest anymore, because even if you do that, you're barely scratching, you're barely getting by, if that.
And you're in debt.
Yes, and you're in debt. And that debt is set up so that you can never pay it back, which is so sad. So sad. But so
don't go to college.
Your mom goes to college.
Okay, sorry.
So, like I said, I was always fed the narrative that making money was difficult. However, when I was a teenager in high school, I was made aware of the movie The Secret. And I got into the law of attraction when I was in high school. So as a creative, my mind always started kind of going as like, what am I going to do? Like once I get out of school, but also like subconsciously, I was like, you have to go to college because that's what you're told to do. But then I also found the power of like positive thinking and manifestation, and that kind of all plays out into my story now and energetically, and how my story unraveled like with money and with work and with business. So outside of school, we're going to fast forward to, so let me backtrack a little bit. I actually started working when I was 16 as well, and I didn't work to help my parents. I worked because I wanted to spend whatever the hell I wanted to. My parents never asked me for a dime. They never said, like, you're going to start working and you're going to start taking care of these bills. Never, ever. So, and like Natalia, it's like, what did we do with that money? We just spent it. Clothes, eating, whatever. I don't even know what the hell I did with it. So
we have nothing to show, but we look good.
Exactly. So then, fast forward, I start my business. Well, actually, I first went into an MLM company when I was about like 19, 20. And then I started my business at the age of 23. And in the MLM company, it was a financial based company. So there was a lot that I learned in there. And I learned like the basics about money. I learned what you should do with your money, how you should invest, what sort of savings account you should have, where you should save your money. What sort of like insurances you need to cover yourself if you are a father or a mother and you have liabilities. So I was taught a lot about the basics of money, and at a very young age, before getting out of a teenager, because again, like I went into that as a 19-year-old, I was around people that were making 30, 40, 50, 60K a month.
So it exposed you.
Yes. And so I saw the reality of what it would be to make that sort of money and the freedom that those people had. And then I saw their mentality, the way they went about their day, the things that they were watching, the things that they were reading, the stuff that they were listening to, the people that they were surrounding themselves with. And the one thing that always stood out to me, which I love, 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 is that my upline, my coach at the time, he was very big on morning routines, just as how you and I are now. And his morning routine, he would get up at 5 a.m, go straight to the beach to surf, and then he would read books, he would journal, and then he would pray. He's a Christian.
I love
and then
that.
he would start like his workday like in the afternoon, and that's basically like what you and I do now, you know. So again, like the power of who you surround yourself with. And so I was in that reality of people making so much money, and we would even visit these people's homes that would make $100K a month.
Wow.
And it was just a beautiful like lifestyle that they would live. And I saw the possibility that if you get uncomfortable and you build a business, you can have that reality as well. So a lot of what I learned in that company, I still apply to my life now. So
I love that.
That was that. But then when I started my business, when I was 23, I started to make money. Ask me what I did with all of that money, because I would only work like 2 days out of the weekend, and I would make up to like $1,000 for that single weekend back in like 2013. And I would just spend it. I don't even know what I would spend it on, but I would just spend it, you know. And mind you, I had already gone through like the MLM company and whatever, but like sometimes this also like applies to a lot of us people. We learn things, but we don't implement them, right? So you have to know that just because you learn something doesn't mean it's going to change your life. You have to implement that. The same like for manifestation. You just can't put out an intention and expect for it to come to you. You have to work for it.
Yep.
So when I started my business, I still had the poo-poo mindset that money is difficult to make, and that if you didn't go to school, money wasn't going to be a secure thing for you. So I always had the narrative in my mind like, oh, I'm a business owner, so money is never going to be consistent. It's never going to be secure. So I had months that would fluctuate really bad for me in the beginning. And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh my God, like, did I make like a horrible mistake starting a business? Like, how am I going to do this? Maybe I should have gone to school because I would be secure and blah, 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 blah. But really, when I like peel the curtain back, it was a narrative of if you don't go to school and have a career, money is difficult. Money is not secure. It's really hard to make. Now you ask me if it's hard for me to make money as a business owner, and I'm like, no, it's not. I make it with my hands, like we were talking about earlier. But I had to go a lot. I had to really educate myself and really do the shadow work behind money. And it was not only learning what I knew in the MLM company, but reading books about money, listening to podcasts about money, watching educational stuff about money, and changing my energy behind it. And what really shifted it for me was my spiritual awakening, because even though I knew from an early age when I was a teenager that your thoughts create your reality, as they teach you in The Secret, I really didn't start to implement any of that until my official awakening came into my life, and I actively started to practice everything. Was when my own energy shifted, and I was able to kind of overcome that negative mindset around money. But that's basically my journey with money, and kind of like where I'm at now. For me now, it's easier to make money. It's fun for me to make money now. And it's definitely more consistent than what it was back in the day, like when I first started a business. But again, like usually to have a consistent sort of business, you have to be in business for at least like 5 years for you to really see any like security in it. Yeah. But that's basically my journey with money, and kind of like where I'm at now. Now it's just like a fun little game for me, and I love to play games with the universe.
It really is, though. So what was that? And I don't know if this is like getting into the energy of it, but was there like a defining moment where you had this switch of like money is not easy to make to money being easy to make?
It was when I started my spiritual awakening, like path, like my official awakening. I've always felt like I was kind of woke, but when my official awakening happened.
But what within that? Because that's like a big journey, right? So was there something specific in that triggered like that, like, oh wait, because it feels to me like this was this like deep rooted belief that was put in you since childhood. So I feel like for that to be uprooted, was there something where it was like, oh, this made it click?
There wasn't a defining moment. I think for me, I honestly think that as we age, there are different levels of consciousness that we go through. And I feel like
if you're doing the inner work.
Yes, and I feel like I really woke up in 2018. And if I kind of want to connect the pieces and say if there was a specific moment, there wasn't a specific moment, but it was when I was challenging myself to be aware of my thoughts. So whenever so whenever there was a negative thought about anything, whether it was money, myself, my life, my partnerships, anything, I always challenged myself to switch that narrative. So I did that a lot with money. So whenever I caught myself in a state of like, oh my goodness, like this month is slow, or like, oh my goodness, like I haven't made as much money as I want to, or oh my goodness, like I can't believe I have to go and spend this, like I don't have a big budget for this, I would switch that narrative and change it. So that's really when I started to change my relationship with money. But it wasn't like an overnight thing. I constantly had to do that until I reprogrammed my subconscious mind to believe that it was easy to make money, and that once I got money, it'll stay with me.
I love that.
But it's the repetition, because
the mindset work.
Yes, because you have to reprogram your subconscious mind.
And I think still, right? I feel like it's like a muscle we have to constantly work at. Because I think like Nat and I could still fall into a funk of like, oh no, my business this month sucked and maybe I should go get a job. Like if we didn't exercise our mindset, I think we could still fall into that funk.
For sure.
You know? So it's like we have to actively always work on it.
Yeah. I will say that now I'm at a different place where like having to go get a job is not even in like...
Same. I'm like never.
No, it's not.
Feet pics all the way.
I enjoy my freedom too much. If I was ever put in that position, I know, like I said, that I can create money out of nothing, but I also know how sacred my time is, that I'm not willing to switch my time for money.
Yep, I agree.
There's just no way.
I don't think about that. I think I don't know if you experienced this, but I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs go through the phase initially of like, oh shit, should I just go get a job when things are rough, you know?
Yes. Have you seen like those memes of like entrepreneurs?
The roller coaster,
yes, that's exactly what entrepreneurship is like. And you have to have a specific sort of skin to be an entrepreneur.
100%.
Because
so if you're being a baby about stuff, like...
There's no way. Yeah. Don't be a baby. Don't throw fits. Don't say, ooh, poor me. Oh, no. There's no space for that, guys. No. You got to have some sort of like tough skin to be a business owner.
100%.
Because you will go through those waves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know that mindset is a huge part of money. But what about energetically? Because I also believe that money is energy, and we need to understand the energy of money and how to work with it. So how do you view the energy of money?
Oh my gosh, you and I have talked about this so much. How do I view the energy of money? You're repeating every single question. The energy of money to me, the energy of money to me, money, I feel like money is a tool and it provides.
I like that.
But the energy of it, I feel like the energy flows. I feel like money flows to you, but you have to be a magnet for it. I do think that energy... Actually, that's a very good question, because like off the bat, I would say to me, the energy of money is flow and abundance. Like in plain words, to me, it's flow and abundance. What about you?
I'm writing this down because they're good quotes. Okay, so I think for me, like when it comes to the energy of money, I really had to work on that, because I would hear these things, right? People will post things like this as quotes where it's like, you have to be a magnet for money and blah, blah, blah. And I would like these things and be like, ooh. And I was like, I don't know what that means, clearly, because I am not attracting money. So
I just got the word for me.
What?
Peace.
Peace. I like that. Peace.
Because if you think
It feels
about
like
it,
peace.
money brings peace.
It does.
To everyone. You're not stressing. It's peace.
Yeah. You don't have to worry.
Mm-hmm. But to you?
I think... so I'll share this because I feel like my transition with understanding the energy of money, the way that I did that, because I was taking, I was going to the classes similar to where like I did the MLM, I did this, but there had to be an energetic shift.
Correct.
So same with me. It's like I went to the classes, I hired my accountant, but I had not had that energetic shift. And I think that happened when I asked myself the question, what is my relationship with money? And when I asked myself that question, I was like, okay, if I think of money in the context of a relationship, and I think of it as like it's a partnership.
I love that we're going into this.
Like in my mind,
I hope we touch this.
I was like, if it's a partnership, in my mind, I was like, okay, what do I think a healthy relationship consists of? I was like, consistent communication, because I thought about it. I was like, okay, if I had a boyfriend, if I had a boyfriend, like, what would I want from him? And what would he want from me? And so I started answering that, and I was like, I would want daily communication. I would want weekly dates minimum. I would want us to compliment each other, to say positive things about each other. And so I kind of outlined what is a healthy relationship. And then I asked myself, what is my relationship with money right now? And that's when I started to catch what I was saying and how you were saying to mindset, right? And I was like, dang, you always say, oh, I don't really care about money. And so I put that into the context of a healthy relationship. I don't really
care about my boyfriend.
Exactly. And so I was like, if I'm saying that, I don't really care about money, or, oh, I suck at money, or whatever it is, I was like, dang, you got to change all this because that does not align with the healthy partnership. And so that, when I started to do that inner work and journaling, and was like, okay, so what I did was I started making myself look at my bank account every single day, because to me that was my way of integrating. If I had a boyfriend, I would want us to be in communication every single day.
Yeah. This
so
is
like,
so powerful.
So I was like, okay. And I didn't like what I was seeing in my bank account. It's not like I was doing these things and I was like, oh my God, it feels so good. But nope, I didn't like it. But I would look at my bank account every single day, even though I was like, there's not shit to see here. It's like, look at it, So every day I would log in and I'd be like, oh, But I was like, nope, gratitude for what's there. Just gratitude, right? Because I'm like, if this was my boyfriend, I'm not going to be like, damn, nothing to see here, So gratitude. So what I implemented was checking my bank account daily. And then I started having weekly money dates. So every Friday, and I still do this, every Friday for me is Financial Fridays. And I sit down with my little spreadsheet and I look at what came in, what went out. And I have a very specific format for how I manage my finances. But every week, Financial Fridays. So to me, it was like implementing those things of what I believe a healthy relationship is. And that's how I started to shift my energy around money. Because I was like, if I'm speaking negatively about money, like if I have, you would say, if you would say you love your boyfriend, why wouldn't you say you love money?
Correct.
Why wouldn't you say like, money feels good, And so when I started to shift my energy around it and implement these things, like, that changed it for me.
Yeah, correct. Powerful. I feel like you explained it in a way that's easily digestible for people. Because it's like we could sit here and talk about the energy of money, but when you put it into the context of a relationship and a healthy relationship, I think people are able to see it in that perspective easier. I love that.
Because if you think about it, if we're trying to, because, you can take a quote like, Natalie said, money flows to you if you're a magnet for it. I love that. And when you go deeper with that, how do you become a magnet for money? It's not going to come to you if you're like, I don't care about money, or money's hard to make, or, you know, if you're saying negative things about money, like if a guy was speaking negatively about you, you'd be like, ugh.
Yeah, no, correct.
You'd be turned off versus you're like, you're so beautiful. I love you. I love spending time with you. You're so much fun. You would attract, right? So the words you're using, and I still will catch myself where I'm like, oh, don't say that about money. You better be speaking positively, because money is listening.
Oh,
and money's an energy. And if you are speaking negatively about money, if you're saying it's hard to get, if you're saying anything like that, money is going to respond accordingly, if it even responds.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So you got to shift what now was saying, your mindset. You got to shift your words, and you got to shift your actions.
Yeah, and your feeling to your emotions.
Yep, your embodiment of it.
Yeah, when you're sitting trying to say positive affirmations about money, you also got to make sure that you're feeling into those affirmations.
Yeah.
Because we could just blindly say things without feeling, but the way you're feeling really creates that energy.
So when you're working on manifesting money, how do you do that?
How do I say that again?
Like, what's your process for manifesting money?
Oh, I have different ones though. I have different things. It really depends on, well, first of all, I start with spells.
We're getting witchy with it.
I'll start with spells. I'll set my intentions. I'll set my energy. And what I'll do as well when I'm in a season of really wanting to manifest more money, I'll actually have a card of the things that I'm trying to manifest and how much money I want to manifest, and I'll fold it and I'll leave it in my wallet. And then if I remember, I'll try to repeat it to myself every single morning, as much as I can remember to do so. And then just my energy as I'm going about, either when I'm conducting business or when I'm spending money in quotations, I make sure that I'm constantly reassuring that the universe has an endless flow of abundance, and that by me exchanging energy and abundance with the world, I will be blessed even 3 times over. But what I've found that has always worked for me is always my energy behind it. Whenever I feel like I'm being stagnant or I'm in scarcity mindset is when I feel like there's a resistance between me and money doesn't flow to me naturally. So I need to make sure that I'm always in that clear level headed where I feel at peace, at ease, I'm happy, I'm loving, I'm welcoming. And that's basically how I really go about manifesting money. But this is energetically aside from the strategic standpoint. Obviously, you have to have a game plan how you're going to make that money and make that take that action. But energetically, I feel like it's really simple. It's really simple to make sure that your mindset and your energy is aligned, but then you're also setting the intentions and the goals, and then I pair it with spells. So that's me.
I like that.
What about you?
I feel like my approach, let me think. Because I actually think, so I have this theory that like all of us tend to be either more masculine or more feminine. So I think the way you go about this depends on which one you are. So if you tend to be more feminine, I think if you want to manifest money, you need to tap into more of the masculine energy, which would be like strategic, right? Versus if you're more masculine, you got to tap into more of the feminine side of it to help the 2 elements come together. So for example, I'm very strategic. Like I can sit there and create a strategy. Like this is the program. This is how I'm gonna market. This is how I'm gonna sell. This is how much money. This is how many clients. Blah blah blah. But what I realized was like, I used to do that all the time, and it never worked because it was missing the energetic element. You know. So what I find with myself is I need to do more of the energetic side, and when I focus more on the energetic, I actually attract. And I think it's because I'm in more of a masculine energy.
Correct. And I think a lot of people approach money in the masculine, neglecting the energy, which is, and the creativeness and the flow, which is the feminine. And I think that's why a lot of people block the money.
Because I actually think it's the opposite.
Really?
At least the people I work with, because they're so like because they're spiritual, they're so like in their feminine that they don't have the masculine, I think.
No, because then if we're also talking about like, oh, we have the strategy, but the energy is not there. Well, we have the masculine, but the feminine is not there.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is people who don't have a strategy.
I see.
Yeah.
No, that's why you need to have both.
Mm-hmm.
Both, because you can have all of the energy, but if you don't have a plan of how you're going to make that money, there's no way that money is going to come. But if you have a plan of how you're going to make that money, but your mindset is shitty, you're also not going to make that money. It's a good balance of both.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I think for me, like what I do energetically is it's more of like a journaling practice for me, where I think about the souls I want to impact. So let's say, for example, if I want to manifest 5 new clients, I'll go through this journaling practice I have of like writing out like, these are the souls I'm manifesting. This is how I'm going to impact their life. This is how I'm going to help them. And I try to visually see it. So I do a lot of visualization around it and a lot of gratitude. And that helps me with the embodiment. And then I go and implement my strategy and I attract those people. So a lot for me, it's a big like visualization exercise. And strategy. So but I think that's important, because I think, you know, Nat does her spell and then she takes action. She does the work to get the client. Same with me. I do my visualization and journaling, and then I take the action. So you gotta put in the work. And if you're putting in the work and not seeing it, you're missing the energy. If you're putting in the energy and not seeing it, you're missing the strategy. So make sure you have both elements.
And visualization is huge, especially when it comes to manifesting. This could be with like money or just manifesting in general, but that's also a key element that a lot of people miss, is the visualization.
Yeah. Or I'll picture the amount of money in my bank account.
Yeah, and you have to also feel into that. It's really matching yourself to that.
Yep.
And when it comes to matching that comes the visualization and the intention behind it. So, I mean, I know Natalia and I have done exercises where it's like, oh, you want to manifest like your dream home, visualize that and feel into how you're gonna feel when you're in your dream home. What does that feel like? Now set the intention. You know, make the game plan and get to work, but you got to keep that right energy and mindset. So it's like a good balance of everything, for sure.
And what I like about visualization is it also allows me to see where my blocks are. So like if I picture it and I feel resistance in my body, I'm like, okay, that's the thing that's holding me back from manifesting this. So let's look at it. What's there? Why are you resistant to these 5 clients? Why are you resistant to this amount of money? Oh, well, I'm scared that if I book these 5 clients, I'm not going to have any more time, or I'm going to feel overwhelmed. Okay, then I get into my journaling. Let's work through this. Do I need to change that? Do I need to shift my mindset around it? Is it like, okay, is there a way for me to do this without being overwhelmed? So allow your blocks to come up and work through them, because that's the key to getting the manifestation.
The shadow work.
Yep. So do your shadow work around money, face your fears, implement energy and strategy, and get smart. Like there's so many resources, you guys.
Many.
Yeah. There's no excuse. There's no reason as to why you should not understand. Like maybe because you don't know now, but go become a student of it and go learn it.
Correct. I agree.
Go get that shmoney, honey.
Stop living in scarcity mindset.
Yes. Like just, become a student. If you don't know, that's okay. Go learn. But the way we change the world is by changing ourselves. So get empowered around money. That's how we're going to create abundance, aligned abundance in a positive way in the world.
Another thought just came to my mind.
Say it.
I think also a good way to see how you're feeling about money is, how do you view people with money?
Ooh.
Like, do you envy them? Are you happy for them? Do you see that it's a possibility for you? Because I think with the way you view people that have more than you will tell you a lot about where you are right now mentally. with your finances, with money, with just the energy in general.
If you feel triggered around money, you are not a magnet for money.
Correct. If you're envious of other people that have things that you don't have, you're not a magnet. That's a projection. How do you talk about people with money? That's a projection. So that's also a good question to ask yourself.
Dang, ending it with a trigger.
We like to trigger you guys.
It's for your own growth.
That's the only way you learn.
It's from a place of love. We're like your tias that are just like...
Tias? Are we that old? I was going to say big sisters.
We're your big sisters.
We're your tias.
Tias.
Okay, sure.
Fine, big sisters. We're not that old. We're in our 20s. No,
wish.
we're not.
Well, okay, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope this was another episode that helped you grow and expand and align, because that's our goal. But thank you for tuning in to another episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one.